The signal came at 3:47 inches the morning. Dr. Lee Sue was sleeping at her desk when the alarm woke her. She had fallen asleep while checking old data, her coffee cold beside her. The monitoring station, Guanghua, was quiet at this hour. Most of her team had gone home. Only the machines kept working, listening to the emptiness of space. But tonight, space was not empty. Sue stared at her screen. Numbers danced across it. A pattern. Not random noise from dying stars. Not echoes from old satellites. This was something else. This was math. This was a message. Her hands shook as she ran the translation program. It took 40 minutes. When the words appeared on her screen, she forgot how to breathe. Please, anyone. They are killing us. Our worlds burn. Our children die. We run, but they follow. Please, someone answer. Please, the message repeated. Again and again. Behind the words, she could hear sounds. Screaming. Explosions. The crying of creatures she had never seen but somehow understood. Sue picked up her phone and called the one person who needed to know. Admiral Kang Tae-ho was 63 years old. He had white hair and a calm face that never showed fear. He had commanded Earth's fleet for 15 years. He had seen battles and death and the cold beauty of distant stars. But he had never heard anything like this. He sat in the council chamber with 11 other leaders. They had gathered in 1 hour, still tired, still confused. On the big screen, the alien message played again. This could be a trap, said General Mock, a large man with a loud voice. We know nothing about these creatures. We know nothing about who is chasing them. Why should we risk our ships and our people? Because they are dying, said Sue. She stood at the front of the room, small but unafraid. I have studied this signal for hours. It is real. Their pain is real. 12 billion of them existed once. Now, only 2 million remain. Someone is hunting them to extinction. And that is sad, said Counselor Bake, a woman with cold eyes. But it is not our war. Earth must protect Earth. We cannot save everyone. The room grew loud with argument. Some agreed with Bake. Others were not sure. Admiral Kang said nothing. He just listened. Then he stood up. The room went silent. When Kang spoke, his voice was soft but clear. Play the message again, he said. The full version, with all the sounds. Sue pressed a button. The message filled the room. This time, they heard everything. The words of desperation, the explosions in the background, and then, worst of all, the screaming of children. Alien children. Yes, but still children. Still innocent. Still afraid. The message ended. Silence hung in the air like smoke. Kang looked at each person in the room. I have a daughter, he said. She has 3 children of her own. When I hear those screams, I hear them. I hear every child on Earth. I hear every child that ever lived. He paused. We did not build this fleet to hide. We did not reach the stars to ignore suffering. If we turn away from this, we do not deserve the universe we have claimed. Counselor Bake opened her mouth to argue, but she saw something in Kang's eyes. Something hard. Something that would not bend. We vote, said Kang. Now, the vote was close. 7-5. Earth would answer. Captain Yoon Hana received the orders on her ship, the Fury of Seoul. She was 38 years old, with short black hair and a scar on her chin from an old battle. Her crew loved her because she was fair. Her enemies feared her because she was not. She read the orders twice. Then she smiled. All hands, she said into the ship's speaker. This is your captain. We have a mission. Somewhere out there, people are dying. They called for help. Nobody answered. Until now. She paused. Around her, the bridge crew watched with wide eyes. We are going to find them, Hana continued. We are going to protect them. And whoever is hunting them will learn what happens when you make Earth angry. Prepare for departure. We leave in 6 hours. The Fury of Sol was just one ship. But it would not go alone. Across the solar system, 300 warships powered up their engines. Soldiers said goodbye to families. Pilots checked their fighters. Engineers ran final tests. The greatest fleet Earth had ever sent into deep space was preparing to fly. On a small transport ship, Sergeant Park Jin watched Earth grow smaller through his window. He was 29, with a strong body and quiet eyes. His squad sat behind him, joking nervously to hide their fear. "Sarge," said one of them, a young woman named Corporal Doe. Jin thought about the question. He thought about the screaming in that message. He thought about his own sister and her baby back on Earth. "We will find them," he said. "And whatever is hurting them, we will stop it. That is what we do." Lieutenant Baek Yuna was already in her fighter, running through checks. She was the best pilot in the fleet. Everyone knew it. She knew it too. Some called her arrogant. She called it confidence. "Control," she said into her radio. "Yuna is ready. Point me at the bad guys." Deep in space, the Valari refugees hid in their broken ships. They had sent their message 1,000 times. No one had ever answered. They had given up hope. They did not know that hope was coming. 300 ships, thousands of soldiers, millions of humans who had decided that silence was not an option. Earth had heard the cry, and Earth was answering. The Valari convoy floated in the darkness like wounded birds. 47 ships carried what remained of a once great civilization. Their hulls were burned and broken. Their engines barely worked. Inside, 2 million Valari waited to die. They had been running for 30 years. They had nowhere left to go. Elder Kova stood on the bridge of his ship. He was old, even by Valari standards. His blue skin had faded to gray. His 4 eyes were tired. He had watched his people die slowly, year after year, as the Drath hunted them across the galaxy. "Elder," said a young Valari named Ren, "the Drath ships are coming. 20 of them. They will reach us in 4 hours." "No," Kova closed his eyes. This was the end. Then, the last of his people would die here, in cold space, far from home. "Tell everyone to prepare," he said softly. "We will face death with dignity." But the universe had other plans. 3 hours later, Ren's voice came through the speakers, shaking with something strange. Not fear. Something else. "Elder, ships. Many ships. They are not Drath." Kova rushed to the window. His heart stopped. 300 vessels dropped out of faster-than-light travel. They were beautiful and terrible. Their hulls were gray and strong. Their weapons glowed with blue fire. And on every ship, a symbol. A blue circle with green land. "The planet, Earth," they answered. Kova whispered. Someone answered. "Kova. Kova." Captain Yoon Hana looked at the Drath ships on her screen. They were ugly things, covered in spikes and weapons. 20 of them surrounded the refugee convoy, like wolves around sheep. "Captain," said her weapons officer, "the Drath are turning toward us. They are powering weapons." Hana smiled. It was not a nice smile. "Good," she said. "Lieutenant Baek." Yuna's voice came through the radio, sharp and excited. "Born ready, Captain. Just say the word. The word is given. All fighters, attack." 100 small fighters launched from the fleet. Yuna led them, her ship faster than the others. The Drath expected easy prey. They expected scared refugees. They did not expect this. Yuna's first shot destroyed a Drath weapon tower. Her second shot broke open a hull. Around her, human pilots flew with skill and fury. They moved as one, like a single creature, with 100 parts. The Drath tried to fight back, but they were confused. They had conquered 100 species. None had ever fought like this. None had ever attacked with such speed and anger. In 15 minutes, 6 Drath ships were burning. The others began to retreat. "They are running," said Hana's tactical officer, surprise in his voice. "Of course they are," said Hana. "They came to kill helpless people. They were not prepared for a real fight." She pressed a button on her chair. "All ships, pursue and destroy. Leave none alive." The battle lasted 2 hours. When it ended, all 20 Drath ships were gone. Some destroyed. Some fled into deep space. The refugee convoy floated safely, untouched. On the Valari command ship, Elder Kova wept. A human shuttle docked with his vessel. Kova and Ren went to meet it, their legs shaking. The door opened. A human woman stepped out. She had short black hair and kind eyes. "I am Captain Yoon Hana," she said. "Earth sent us. You are safe now." Ren translated for Kova. The old Valari stared at the human. Then, he fell to his knees and grabbed her hand. "Why?" he asked through Ren. "Why did you come? You do not know us. You owe us nothing." In all our years of running, no one answered. "Why did you? I mean, what did you?" Hana knelt down to look into Kova's 4 eyes. She spoke slowly so Ren could translate. "Where I come from," she said, "there is an old belief. When someone is drowning, you do not ask if they deserve to be saved. You jump in and save them. That is what humans do. That is who we are." Kova sobbed. 30 years of running. 30 years of watching his people die. And finally, someone had come, far away, in the dark heart of Drath space. Warlord Tharn received the news. He sat on a throne made of bones. His red eyes burned with cold fire. His body was massive, covered in scars from 100 battles. He had conquered 63 species. He had destroyed 12 civilizations. He had never lost a war. "Tell me again," he said to Commander Voss, who knelt before him. Voss trembled. "The humans destroyed all 20 ships, Warlord. They fight without fear. They fight for creatures they have never met." Tharn was silent for a long moment. Then, he laughed. It was an ugly sound. "Interesting," he said. "A species that fights for strangers. How foolish. How beautiful." He stood from his throne. "Prepare the invasion fleet. All of it. I want to see these humans myself. I want to see how long their courage lasts when they face the full power of the Drath Empire." Voss bowed lower. "Yes, Warlord. And the Valari?" Tharn smiled with rows of sharp teeth. "They can wait. First, we teach these humans the price of hope. Then we finish the Valari. Then we take their precious earth and add it to our collection." Back on the Fury of Soul, Dr. Lee Su sat with Ren in the medical bay. The young Valari was teaching her their language. They had been talking for hours. "Your people are strange," said Ren. "You have so much power. You could take anything you want. But you choose to help others. The Drath would call that weakness." Su smiled. "The Drath are wrong. Helping others is not weakness. It takes more strength to protect than to destroy. One day, even the Drath will learn that." Ren looked at the small human woman. She did not look strong, but something in her eyes was harder than any weapon. "I hope you are right," said Ren. "For all our sakes." Outside the ship, stars burned in the endless dark. Somewhere out there, the Drath were coming. But for the first time in 30 years, the Valari were not alone. Earth had arrived, and Earth was not afraid. The Valari homeworld was called Sanctuary. It was a beautiful name for a beautiful place. Blue oceans, green forests, cities that once touched the clouds. But that was before the Drath came. Now Sanctuary was a wounded world. The forests burned. The oceans turned gray with ash. The tall cities lay in ruins. For 30 years, the Droth had used it as their forward base. They had built weapons there. They had trained soldiers there. They walked on Valari bones and laughed. Admiral Kang Tae-ho looked at the planet on his screen. Around it, 200 Drath warships waited. Behind him, the human fleet had grown to 400 vessels. Ships from every nation on Earth, all united, all ready. "This will not be easy," said Kang to his officers. "The Drath outnumber us in orbit. They control the ground. They have had 30 years to build defenses." He paused. "But they have one weakness." "What weakness, Admiral?" asked Captain Yoon Hana. Kang allowed himself a small smile. "They are arrogant. They have won too easily for too long. They do not know how to lose. We will teach them." The attack began at dawn. Lieutenant Baek Yuna led the first wave. Her fighters screamed toward the Drath fleet like angry wasps. The Drath responded with heavy fire. Space lit up with explosions. "Stay tight," Yuna ordered her pilots. "Follow my lead." We go for their command ship. The Drath command ship was massive. 5 times larger than any human vessel. Its shields glowed bright blue. Its weapons could destroy a city in seconds. Yuna flew straight toward it. "Lieutenant, what are you doing?" shouted a voice in her radio. "Trust me," she said. She pushed her ship faster. The Droth fired everything at her. She dodged left. She dodged right. She spun through explosions that would have killed any other pilot. Her heart pounded. Her hands were steady. At the last moment, she fired all her weapons at one point on the shield. The same point. Again and again. Other pilots followed her lead. The shield flickered. "Now!" screamed Yuna. "Hit them now!" Human ships poured fire into the gap. The Droth command ship shook. Then, it exploded. Across the Drath fleet, commanders panicked. Without their command ship, they had no orders. Human ships attacked from every direction. The battle that should have lasted days ended in hours. But the real fight was on the ground. Sergeant Park Jin landed on Sanctuary with 500 soldiers. The air smelled like smoke and death. Ruins surrounded them. Once, millions of Valari had lived here. Now, only ghosts remained. "Move out," Jin ordered. "Find the main Drath base. We end this today." They marched through broken streets. Jin saw things that made his stomach turn. Mass graves, torture machines. The bones of Valari children stacked like firewood. His soldiers saw them too. Their faces grew hard. Their eyes grew cold. "Sarge," whispered Corporal Doe. Jin did not answer. There was no answer that made sense. Some evil had no reason. Some cruelty had no explanation. You could only stop it. They found the Drath base at the center of the old capital. 1,000 Drath soldiers defended it. They had heavy weapons, strong walls, numbers on their side. Jin looked at his 500. They were tired. Some were wounded. All were angry. "We go through them," he said simply. "For every Valari who died here, we go through." End quote. We go through. The battle was bloody and brutal. Humans fought with rifles and knives and bare hands. The Drath were larger and stronger. But humans were faster, smarter, and they carried something the Drath did not understand. They carried rage. Not blind rage. Cold rage. The kind that makes you keep fighting when your body wants to stop. The kind that makes you stand up when you should stay down. The kind that burned in every human heart that day. Jin killed 7 Drath himself. He lost count of how many wounds he took. He did not care. He just kept moving forward. Always forward. By nightfall, the base was theirs. The Drath commander lay dead. His soldiers surrendered or fled. Commander Voss escaped on a small ship. He flew back to Warlord Tharn with fear in his eyes. "What happened?" Tharn demanded. Voss shook his head. They fight like they have nothing to lose, and everything to prove. I have never seen anything like it. They do not stop. They do not break. They just keep coming. Tharn's red eyes narrowed. For the first time in his long life, he felt something strange. Not fear. Not yet. But respect. Interesting. He said softly. Very interesting. Very interesting. On Sanctuary, the sun rose on a free world. Elder Kova landed on the soil of his home for the first time in 30 years. His old legs shook. His eyes filled with tears. Around him, Valari refugees fell to their knees, touching the ground, weeping, laughing. Sergeant Park Jin stood nearby, covered in dirt and blood. Kova walked to him. You did this, said Kova through Ren. You gave us back our home. Jin looked at the old Valari. He thought about the graves they had found. The bones, the children. It is yours again, Jin said. And we will make sure it stays that way. Kova embraced him. Human and Valari. Strangers, who had become something more. Above them, Captain Hana watched from orbit. Her ship was damaged. Her crew was exhausted. But they had won. Admiral, she said into her radio. Kang's voice came back, warm with pride. Well done, Captain. Well done to everyone. But this is not over. The Drath will return with everything they have. We must be ready. We must be ready. Hana looked at the scarred planet below. Smoke still rose from burning cities. So much was destroyed, but so much could be rebuilt. We will be ready, she said. Whatever comes, we will be ready. She did not know how soon that promise would be tested. The Drath Empire had ruled the stars for 1,000 years. 63 species had bowed to them. 12 civilizations had been erased. No one had ever defeated them. Creason, quote, until now. Warlord Tharn stood before his war council. His red eyes burned with cold fire. Behind him, a map showed the galaxy. Human space glowed blue. Drath space glowed red. Between them, the Valari homeworld, now free. Enough games, Tharn said. These humans have embarrassed us. They have taken what is ours. They have given hope to species that should have none. His voice dropped to a growl. We will crush that hope. We will burn their worlds. We will make them understand what happens when you challenge the Drath. He pointed at the map. 5 human colony worlds blinked. New Busan, New Tokyo, New Lagos, New Delhi, New Cairo. Attack them all, Tharn ordered. Simultaneously. Stretch their fleet thin. Break their spirit. Then we march on Earth itself. The Drath invasion began 3 weeks later. Admiral Kang Tae-ho received the reports with a calm face. But inside, his heart was heavy. 5 worlds under attack. Millions of civilians in danger. And his fleet was scattered across space, still recovering from the battle for Sanctuary. We cannot defend them all, said General Mok, his voice grim. We must choose. Okay. Kang studied the map. Every option was terrible. Save some worlds, abandon others. Let innocent people die while ships traveled too slowly to help. No, he said finally. We will not play their game. If we try to defend everywhere, we will be weak everywhere. He drew a line on the map. We consolidate. Near Earth. We protect our home. And we strike at their supply lines. Cut their food. Cut their fuel. Make this invasion expensive. But the colonies, General Mok began, will have to hold. Kang interrupted. I do not like it either. But this is how we win. Not by dying in small pieces. By staying strong enough to strike back. On New Busan, the sky burned. Drath warships filled the air, dropping bombs on cities. Civilians ran through streets, screaming. Buildings fell. Fires spread. The small defense force fought bravely. But they were outnumbered 100 to 1. Dr. Lee Su was there. She had been helping establish a refugee center for Valari when the attack began. Now she led evacuations, guiding terrified people to underground shelters. "Keep moving," she shouted. "Do not stop. The shelters are just ahead." A Valari child stumbled and fell. Sue grabbed her, lifted her, kept running. Human and Valari fled together. In this moment, they were not two species. They were just people trying to survive. Lieutenant Baek Yuna was on New Busan too. She had been recovering from minor injuries when the Droth came. Now she flew a damaged fighter she had found in a ruined hangar. Her first battle ended badly. A Droth shot her out of the sky. Her ship crashed in the mountains. She crawled from the wreckage, bleeding, broken, alive, but she did not give up. She found survivors. Human soldiers, Valari refugees, scared but willing to fight. Yuna became their leader. "We cannot beat them in the air," she told them. "So, we beat them on the ground. We hide. We strike. We disappear. We make them afraid of every shadow." They became ghosts. They attacked Droth patrols. They destroyed supply lines. They rescued civilians from prison camps. The Droth sent thousands of soldiers to find them. The soldiers never came back. On another front, Sergeant Park Jin faced his own nightmare. His squad defended a bridge on the edge of New Busan's capital. The bridge was the only way for refugees to reach the last safe zone. If it fell, thousands would die. The Droth attacked with everything: tanks, soldiers, airstrikes. Jin's squad had 30 soldiers and limited ammunition. They held for 6 hours. Then 12. Then 18. Jin lost count of the Droth he killed. He lost count of the wounds he took. He lost count of the friends who fell beside him. But he never lost count of the refugees streaming across that bridge. Every life they saved made the pain worth it. By the 19th hour, only 9 of his soldiers remained. The ammunition was almost gone. The Droth were preparing a final assault. Then Jin heard it. The roar of engines. Human ships filled the sky. Admiral Kang had sent reinforcements. A small fleet had broken through the Droth blockade. Fresh soldiers landed. Medical teams rushed to help the wounded. The Droth retreated. Jin collapsed on the bridge, too tired to move. Captain Hana found him there. She knelt beside him. "You held," she said softly. Jin looked up at her with exhausted eyes. "The refugees? Safe, all of them. Because of you." Jin smiled. Then he passed out. Across human space, the pattern repeated. Every colony fought back. Every human resisted. The Droth won ground. But every step cost them dearly. Warlord Tharn received reports every day. Victory here. Victory there. But the numbers troubled him. Too many Droth dead. Too many ships destroyed. These humans did not know how to surrender. "Demand their surrender," Tharn told Commander Voss. "Broadcast it everywhere. Tell them resistance is hopeless." The message went out across all frequencies. Tharn's voice boomed through space. "Humans, you have fought well. But this war is over. Surrender now. Give us your leaders. Accept our rule. And we will spare your worlds. Resist. And we will burn Earth itself." Admiral Kang's response was broadcast just as widely. "You wanted to know what humans are made of. Keep watching." The war continued. Captain Yoon Hana reviewed the casualty lists in her quarters. Thousands dead. Thousands more wounded. Friends. Colleagues. Young soldiers who should have had long lives. She did not cry. She had no tears left. She just sat in silence, reading names, remembering faces. Then she stood up and walked to the bridge. "Set course for the Droth throne world," she ordered. "It is time we brought this war to them." The Droth throne world had never been attacked. For 1,000 years, it had been the heart of an empire, the seat of power, the place where species came to kneel or die. Its defenses were legendary. Its fleet was endless. No one had ever been foolish enough to try. Until now. Admiral Kang Tae-ho stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Spirit of Earth. Around him, the largest fleet in human history, prepared for battle. 500 human warships. But they were not alone. 50 Valari ships flew beside them. Old vessels, barely repaired, but crewed by survivors who wanted revenge. And beyond them, ships from 3 other species: the Korathi, the Milvani, the Oran. Species who had watched humans fight for strangers. Species who had found their courage again. "Admiral," said Captain Hana through the radio. "All ships report ready. We await your command." Kang looked at the throne world on his screen. It was a dark planet, covered in metal and weapons. The Drath had built their entire civilization on war. Today, war would come home. "All ships," Kang said, his voice calm and steady. "Begin the attack." The battle was like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. Thousands of ships clashed in the darkness. Explosions lit the void like new stars. The Drath fought with desperate fury. This was their home, their honor, their very existence. But the humans fought with something more. Lieutenant Baek Yuna flew again. Her body was still healing from New Busan. Her doctors had told her to rest. She had laughed at them. "Rest when I am dead," she had said. Now she led 300 fighters toward the orbital defense station. It was a massive structure, bristling with weapons that could destroy entire fleets. It had to fall. "All fighters, follow me," Yuna commanded. We punch through their lines. We hit the station. We do not stop until it is dust. They flew into hell. Drath fighters swarmed them. Point defense weapons filled space with death. Ships exploded all around Yuna. Friends died screaming in her radio. She kept flying. The defense station grew larger. Its weapons focused on her. She should have been afraid. She was not. "Captain Hana," she said into her radio. "I am going to open a path. Be ready." "Yuna, what are you?" Yuna cut the channel. She aimed her damaged fighter at the station's main weapon. She pushed the engines past their limits. Alarms screamed. Her ship shook. At the last second, she fired everything. Every missile, every bullet, every bit of energy her ship had left. Then, she ejected. Her fighter slammed into the station. The explosion was beautiful. Yuna floated in space, watching. The station's main weapon was gone. A hole gaped in its armor. "Path is open," she whispered into her emergency radio. "Go." Captain Hana saw the opening. She pointed the Fury of Soul at it. "All hands," she announced. "Brace for impact." "We are going through." Her ship was already damaged. Half her crew was dead or wounded. The ship would not survive what she was about to do. She knew that. She did it anyway. The Fury of Soul flew into the gap. Its weapons fired constantly, tearing apart the station from inside. Then, Hana gave her final order. "All hands, abandon ship." "This is Captain Yoon Hana. It has been an honor." She stayed at her controls as the crew evacuated. She guided her ship deeper into the station. Then, she rammed it into the main reactor. The station exploded. The Fury of Soul died. But the way was open. On the surface of the throne world, Sergeant Park Jin led the ground assault. Thousands of soldiers dropped from the sky. Human, Velari, Korathi, Milvani, Orun. All fighting together. All bleeding together. The Drath defenders were fierce. But they were surprised. They had never imagined enemies would reach their home. Jin's team had one mission: disable the planetary shields. Without shields, the fleet could strike the Drath command center directly. They fought through endless corridors. Drath soldiers attacked from every direction. Jin's team grew smaller. 10 became 8. 8 became 5. 5 became 3. But they reached the shield generator. Jin planted the explosives himself. His hands were steady, even though his body was broken. 3 bullets in his chest. 1 in his leg. He should have been dead already. "Sarge," said Corporal Doe, holding him up. "We need to go." Jin smiled at her. "Get the others out. I will finish this." "Sarge." "That is an order, Corporal." Doe hesitated. Then she saluted. Then she ran. Jin pressed the button. The shields fell. In orbit, Admiral Kang saw the opening. "All ships," he commanded. "Target the Droth Command Center. Fire everything." Hundreds of weapons fired at once. The Droth Command Center, where Warlord Tharn sat on his throne of bones, disappeared in fire. But before the end, Tharn sent one final message. "Why?" he asked Admiral Kang. "Why fight so hard for species not your own?" Kang's response was the last thing Tharn ever heard. "Because someone had to. Because when the universe cried for help, Earth answered. That is who we are." The Droth Empire fell. It did not happen in one day. It took months for the fighting to end. But without Tharn, without their throne world, the Droth had no will to continue. They surrendered, fleet by fleet, world by world. 1 year later, a memorial stood on the Valari homeworld. It listed every name. Human, Valari, Korathi, Milvani, Orun, all who had died to end the war. Thousands of names carved in stone. Elder Kova spoke at the ceremony. His voice was old, but strong. "We sent a cry into the void," he said. "We expected nothing. Instead, we received Earth's fury." He paused. "And we learned that fury can be the greatest form of love." Dr. Lee Su stood in the crowd, holding hands with Ren. Admiral Kang Taeho stood beside them, his uniform covered in medals he did not want. Lieutenant Baek Yuna was there too, her arm in a sling. She had been rescued from space by a Valari ship. She had laughed when she woke up. Sergeant Park Jin's name was on the memorial. He had not survived the explosion, but Corporal Doe was there to honor him. She touched his name and whispered thanks. Captain Yoon Hana's name was there too. She had saved them all. She had given everything. The stars shone above them. Once, those stars had seemed cold and empty. Now, they felt different. Now, they felt like home, because the universe had learned something new. When the darkness comes, when evil spreads, when the helpless cry for help, Earth answers, and Earth never gives up.